So today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a huge mistake that we see job seekers making all the time. And this especially happens in markets like this where things are extremely tough. The job market is really competitive. This is when this mistake becomes extremely prevalent. And so today I want to talk about what that mistake is and then how we're going to avoid it. And the reason you want to pay attention to this is because this mistake has two huge downfalls if you make it. One, it can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, 50,000, hundreds of thousands, both in the short term and then even more than that in the long term. So then the second thing, the second mistake, or the second repercussion of this mistake, rather, is that not only is there a huge financial component to it, but it can also set you back in your career for years to come. So I want to dive into that, kind of make you aware of what this mistake is, and then again, talk to you or show you how you're going to avoid that. So let's jump right in. So we're talking about how to avoid this one mistake as a job seeker that can cost you anywhere between 50,000 plus to 100,000 plus, and also set you back for years to come. So when most people start their job search, think about why they started in the first place. This might be you if you are a job seeker, and this is certainly most of our clients. And I'll tell you right out of the gate, 99% of the time, percent of the time, when a client comes to work with us, it's not because they are thrilled about how their career is going. It is usually because they've either been recently laid off, that's the most common, or they're just frustrated with how their career has played out up until that point. They're tired of being underpaid, tired of being undervalued, tired of working for a toxic boss, manager, culture, tired of being passed up for promotion. And essentially, they are just simply tired of playing below their potential. They know they are capable of more, and they just haven't been able to achieve that. So when this happens, think about what most people or what you potentially have found yourself doing. And this is something I've done myself. Once something negative happens, the very first thing that we do as job seekers is we put together a resume, we update our LinkedIn profile. Maybe this is something, this second step, updating the LinkedIn profile, so many people miss that. But for sure, we will slap together a resume and then begin applying to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. And also along the way, we'll tell anyone that we know, friends, family, past bosses, past colleagues, like, hey, keep an eye out. I'm in the market. And then what happens as a result of that? We hardly hear back from the jobs that we apply to. You most likely are getting a ton of automated rejections. The friends and family and past colleagues that you've told you're looking for a new job to keep an eye out for, they don't have any connections that are helpful to you. So you barely get any interviews. And then even when you get an interview, you usually bomb that first one because you're so out of practice. And then you repeat the cycle again. You go back and apply to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs, and then you get another interview. And then most likely you will bomb that interview. And I'm not saying this to be malicious. This is just what happens because, again, you bomb that second interview because you're so out of practice, even more. So, what happens as a result of that? You waste more time applying. You don't get any results. You get frustrated. You get hopeless. You get desperate. And then this is where that biggest mistake comes in. You start going for jobs that are a step or two or a title or two lower than your most recent title. Why is that? Why is it that because we can't go, we're not getting what we want, we decide we want to go lower? Well, it's because the perception is that if it's a lower title, then it's easier to get that one. And you do that because you're now starting to run out of time and you're probably running out of savings or running out of severance. I'll tell you a little secret here. And this is something our clients know really well. This is something I know really well. It took me many years to learn this. And that secret is it is just as easy to get a bad job as it is to get a hard job. It takes just as much time to get a bad job as it does to get a good job. But most people fail to grasp that, not because they're dumb, but because they're desperate. And because when you get desperate, you start making desperate moves. And desperate moves are usually irrational. And now you're not thinking as clearly. And so, as a result of being in the market for so long, applying to hundreds of jobs, getting dejected, getting desperate, you start going for jobs that are lower than what your most recent title was, because the perception again is if I go a step or two lower, I can get that one. It doesn't usually work, but that's the common perception. So as a result of that, what happens? Well, you ultimately end up taking a job that you don't want, which then pays you lower than what you used to make, which then sets you back multiple years, which then prevents you from fully achieving your potential or achieving it way too late. And then what happens is you become resentful and your career does not go in the direction you want it to. You have no idea how many times I've heard somebody say, well, let me just get this first job because I've been out of work for so long, and then I'll go for the better job when the market turns around, only to find that they don't go for the better job because it's hard to leave a job, especially when there's a million other things going on in life, kids and parents and spouses and out social obligations and whatever. You're exhausted. So now going after that new job that you said you would do once you get this job becomes less of a priority. And then the longer you stay in a job that you don't want, that is paying you lower, the more money you are leaving on the table and the further you're getting away from playing to your potential, which is the thing that you wanted in the first place. So let me give you a backstory of a client who, oh, here he is. I'm sorry, I moved a slide. So on April 12th of this year, we had somebody book a call with me. If you've ever booked a call with me, you know what this is. This is a link to my Calendly. This is the form that you fill out when you decide you want to consider working with us. So you see here, he booked it on April 12th. And the backstory for this person is when I spoke to him, I realized that he was a product manager. He had I think 7.5 or 8 years of experience working as a product manager for really great brands. And I won't name them. I'm not, he hasn't made this fully public yet. So I'm not going to name anything about him or the companies he worked for. But when he came to us, or a few months prior to coming to us, he found out that he was going to get laid off from the job that he was in. So his company told him, you are getting laid off. Now, this same year, his wife was pregnant with their first child. She wasn't working either. He was making, at the time he joined our program, 230,000 total comp. Okay, total comp. Now, during those 3 months prior to booking the call with us, he couldn't get a single interview. He had applied for hundreds of positions. And then as a result of being able to not being able to get interviews, he started doing exactly what I told you most people do. They go for a position, a title or two below. Now he was making total comp of 230,000. And because it took him, because during those 3 months, he couldn't find a single job or not job, I'm sorry, but he couldn't get a single interview. He started targeting positions that were 2 titles below what he was at. And so each of these positions were paying between 150 to 170. That's 80,000 to 60 to $80,000 lower than what he would have made had he gone and looked for his current role. I am so grateful, and so is he, that he did not get any of these interviews. He started applying for all these jobs that were a title or two lower than what he was currently at, which was a senior product manager, and he couldn't get a single interview. And again, I am so freaking thankful that he didn't, because had he got one of those jobs, he would have A, gone back in title, and B, he would have made $80,000 less than what he was currently making or most recently making. Now, imagine the kind of pressure that would have put on him and his wife as his new child came along, making $80,000 less. So, why was he going for those roles? Well, same reason we talked about. He started to get desperate. He was feeling a lot of fear and uncertainty around the job market. And so he was lacking results. So what was he doing to try to get those results? All he was doing was applying to jobs. This is what most job seekers do. So the very first thing that we did, and this is now where the solution comes in, is we conducted what we call a career audit. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go specific details of what an audit is, um, but it's because I'll share resources with you that walk you through how to do that. But essentially, what it is, it's usually a 60-minute, 90-minute, sometimes even a 2.5 hour long call where we sit down with our client when they come into our program and we have them walk us through their entire career. We want to understand what were the biggest problems that they solved. We want to know at the most granular level, how did they solve them? When the reason we go granular is because now the more specific you get about how you solve problems and the more granular you get, the more we understand things that are really important for you to market you better, and specifically in interviews about how you solve problems, how you go about navigating complex situations, how do you handle heated conversations, how do you work with different stakeholders who have different priorities, how do you galvanize people who are not big believers of what you're doing or the way you're doing things? How do you lead? How do you inspire? How do you conduct meetings? How do you document? This is all that these things matter. And a lot of times we keep them in our head and we forget about these details because we take them for granted. We do them every day. But remember, other companies, other hiring managers will want to know these things too. So that's why in this audit call, we spend a lot of time with knowing the problems that you solved, how you solved them. And then lastly, we want to know what is the business impact? How did what you solved move the needle for the business? And every time we do this, 15 out of 10 times, we now understand three valuable things. First is, what is the value that you bring to the open market? That's what we found out about our client. Second, what is the impact that not only you have made, but more importantly, you are clearly capable of making given your demonstrated track record? And then lastly, what is your narrative? Narrative is really important. And what narrative means is essentially is, who are you? How did you get here? What have you learned? What have you overcome? What makes you excited? What makes you passionate about these things? And the reason narrative becomes important is because when you're targeting 200K, 3, 4, 500K roles, which most of our clients are, you have to realize that the skill gap between you and the next candidate that company is interviewing is virtually razor thin, meaning you guys are all good. So if you guys are all good, then how do they decide who they're going to hire? It's you. It's your story, your relatability, your trustworthiness, your ability to build rapport. And all of that comes from the stories you tell, which is why we spend a lot of time on figuring out who you are. So in this audit call, it's really important to take it seriously, to figure out, walk through your career company by company, understand what were the problems that I solved, how did I solve them at the most granular level, create star stories out of those, and then understanding what was the quantifiable business impact, meaning how did it, in what ways did I help the business by solving the problems that I worked on? And what we found when we did his audit was that 95% of what he did was very specific to what a principal product manager does. So that's one title above where he was at. So instead of going for a title or two below like he was doing, we were able to show him that you're actually very qualified to go for the one title above. And here's the secret. Most people are. If you've been doing something for the last 6, 7 years, 10 years, you're usually more than ready to go for a job that's a title or two above you. And so in these audit calls, we actually look at those job descriptions together. We'll pull up a job board like Built-in or Well-Found or whatever, Indeed, and we'll study those roles that are one title above our client's most recent title. And then when we study those the job descriptions and the responsibilities, our clients' eyes open up because they tell us, yeah, of course I've done that. Of course I've done that. Of course I've done that, which now puts them into a state of empowerment because they realize like there's no need to take a step back, especially 2 steps back. Like these were some of the things that when we did our audit, we were able to find things that he did led a $5 million revenue generation product in, 5 months. That's huge. 90% cost savings, 20 million unlocked a $20 million market opportunity by spearheading whatever. These are all huge. Again, he was taking this stuff for granted because he has been doing it day in, day out, day in, day out. It's easy to do that. So he was underselling himself. But when I showed him everything he did and then how that aligned with the principal level product role, again, his confidence went right back up. His imposter syndrome went right down, and he felt confident again, knowing that I should go after these roles. So then from that point on, here's what we did. We got really clear on the roles that we're targeting. We mapped out his short-term and long-term goals. We identified, again, through this audit, what his experiences are, his strengths, his accomplishments that align with these new roles he's targeting. Then we rewrote his resume and LinkedIn profile for him. Then we built out his outreach strategy. So we showed him how to find hiring managers, how to find jobs, how to find recruiters, executives, senior leaders who work at the companies that were hiring for principal PMs. And then we prepared his outreach scripts for him, what he was going to say when he reached out to them, what he was going to say when we followed up. We created all of this for them. Now, again, this video is not to go step by step in the details of what we did. I wanted to keep it relatively high level. And again, I'll share resources below or wherever you're watching this video with, again, the specifics on what we did here. But then once he started getting interviews, we prepared him on those interviews. The rule in our program is you are not allowed to go on an interview unless you prep with one of the coaches first, and that's it. And luckily for him, one of our coaches, she's a head of product. She's been where he's been. She knows what he's going to go through. So we helped him, get better about his executive presence, how he was showing up, helped him create star stories, helped him run through those star stories, helped him build case studies, which a lot of product managers get. In fact, a lot of people get, program managers, project managers. We helped him run through his case studies, focused on his tone, his conciseness, his mindset, all of it. And then obviously the offers came in and we helped him negotiate. Now, again, I will share a resource that walks you through how to do all of this, but this is what we did with him after we found what we found, the audit. The audit is always the first step. I want to emphasize that because this puts you into a state of empowerment and it shows you the level of positions you should go after and why. So that way you do not set yourself back for years to come, and also start making money that you don't deserve to be making anymore, or like money that you made many, many years ago. So as a result of this, if you look, he booked his call April 12th. That was his first call, career strategy session. That's the first thing you do before you even sign up with our program. And then April 29th, he heard back from the company that he was interviewing with, that we helped him find, and they offered him a principal product manager role. Base went up by 20K, and then this 20K in shares were worth another like $80,000. So in total, his comp went up 300K. Now think about this. He was targeting $150,000, $170,000 roles because he was desperate, because he wasn't finding any results. This is the mistake most job seekers make. And the fastest way to solve this mistake or avoid it altogether is by conducting a career audit. And it's like I said before, I am so grateful that he did not get any of those positions he was applying for, because this is the position he really wanted. Principal product. Now he went up in title, he went up in base, and he went up in total comp as well. Here you can see what he said, how he's going to celebrate, all the things. And now I just wanted to share a few things that he said that I think are important for you to kind of emphasize this point. This is what he shared. As of recording this, I'm recording this on May 10th, 2024, 8 hours ago. He said, "Thank you. This is the role that he got, principal product manager at an ad tech AI startup." That's exactly what he wanted. He wanted to work on more AI focused products, product-led company. Okay. This startup, by the way, is pre-exit. So the shares that he got are worth a lot. They're going to be worth a lot very soon once they get acquired. The second thing he shared that I really wanted to help, I didn't highlight this, but actually there's 3 things. If you think about it, mindset is really important. So our coaches worked with him on his mindset from day one, and we never let off, because especially after you've gone through the job search yourself and you didn't get results, and then you go on interviews and you don't get offers, it affects your mindset. And then add to that family obligations, like him and his wife having a baby. Add to that the fact that he doesn't have an income, he got laid off. This can all warp your mind. It can mess with you. So we focus on mindset and nervous system regulation from day one, and it's not a one-time thing. This is something we constantly work with our clients on. But the second thing I wanted to emphasize, the one in red here, is the career audit, helping me to look back at my entire career to find my breadth of my accomplishments. It forced me to look at other career profiles of folks whose career paths I'd like to follow. That enabled me to be more strategic about the role I wanted to hit next. They also encouraged me to look at my management consulting experience as an asset versus a liability, which he did think. During the career audit, they helped me to prioritize the opportunities I had in my pipeline and supported and help pull him out of the roles that didn't. Again, we stopped having him apply or go after any 150K roles. And then eventually this is what he got. He also wanted, and I wanted to emphasize this because I can brag about my team all day long. I don't like bragging about myself. I love bragging about my team. He gave a special shout out to Catherine Harrison, who she's a coach in our program. She again is the head of product. Our clients love her to death. When she preps with you for an interview, you better believe she's not going to hang up that call until you are ready. And she spent a lot, we all worked with him, but she spent a lot of time building his case studies and everything like that. And that's how he got the role that he got. So again, if I can give you a sort of like TLDR here, it's if you've been in the job search for a long time and it hasn't been going favorably, you're not getting interviews, you're getting dejected, you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling scared, I would recommend, rather than immediately rushing to go after roles that are a level or two levels below what you recently had, and consider just taking a job that pays you lower because it's easier to get, which it's not. Instead of doing any of that, take a minute, actually take an hour or two, sit down when you have a clear head, go through your career and perform a career audit. Figure out what you did, what problems you solved. Get granular about how you solve those problems. And then also list out how did solving those problems help move the needle at your company. Quantifiable achievements always go really far. And then once you know all of the answers to those three things, now just look at job titles that are one level above yours or two levels. And if you see that at least 60 to 70% of what you used to do and what problems you solved are in direct alignment with what they're asking for, that means you can go after that. That should give you all the confidence you need to go after that. And now you can write your resume and tailor it to roles at that level. And again, I will be sharing the resources for how you write the resume and then how you do the outreach. Now, in our program, we do this all for you. We write your resume for you. We write your LinkedIn for you. We help you build out your entire outreach program. We show you how to find executives, hiring managers, senior leaders, how to find hidden jobs, open jobs, what messages to send, how to follow up. And then those things turn into interviews. And then we prep our clients for every single interview that they go on. So if you're ever looking for more like personalized, one-on-one, focused attention, so we can work with you and teach you how to navigate through every single aspect of the job search, then you can always use the link below or wherever this is to book a call with us. But if you're not in the position to work with a career coach, then you can still take advantage of the free resources that I'll share here. So I just wanted to send that today, and hopefully this helps you, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.